Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and welcome to Lost in the Wasteland, my weekly interview show where I learn a little bit more about somebody else's perspective on movies. And I have my buddy Joe, fellow Philadelphia area critic, joining me, guy at the movies, which shameless plugs, I now write his website, so you can check out actual thoughts that I have about things that aren't just a singular movie. This is weird for me. I'm struggling finding topics to write for these articles, but we're making it work. But Joe, thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. And you're really doing well finding the topics because each one is like knocking it out of the park. So you're in good shape there.
Well, thank you. Hopefully, I'll find out one tomorrow to message you about. Be like, hey, is this good?
Does this
But
work?
but Joe, what would you like to shamelessly plug for the wonderful audience checking in?
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for having me. I think the website is probably the place to start, guyatthemovies.com. Recently went through a redesign a couple of months ago, at which point a bunch of new writers, including yourself, came on. And we, I mean, are covering a lot from,
Mhm.
reviews, sometimes multiple reviews for the same movie because everyone has different perspectives. Film festivals, currently Fantasia International Film Festival going on. We do weekly recaps of some of the big shows. So
Mhm.
really the fandom shows like Marvel. We just wrapped up Secret Invasion. We have Ahsoka coming up in the end of this month, I think it is.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm
and,
excited.
yeah, and then a bunch of opinion pieces and some other stuff too. Box office analysis each week. The predictions just went up tonight, which is funny because the past couple weeks it's been like Barbie, Barbie, Barbie. Yeah, like we know what's happening here.
Maybe Barbie again, but Turtles made $10 million on Wednesday, so good
Saw
for
that.
them.
Saw that. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. But yeah, guyatthemovies.com and then associated socials. Guy at the movies on most things there, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Twitter has an underscore or X, whatever it's called now. Oh my God, has a underscore at the end. I'm on Threads. I'm where all the kids are these days.
I feel like I'm Mr. Peterman from Seinfeld, where it's like, uh, Elaine, I'm in Burma. It's like, isn't it called Myanmar now? It's like, Elaine will always be Burma to me. And it's just like, this isn't X. It's Twitter.
Yeah,
Elon Musk.
it's crazy.
So
Absolutely
stupid.
crazy.
But I've been catching up on the podcast, and I'm on like episode 57, I think it is. Making progress. It's so interesting looking back and listening to you guys talk about things and then being like, that's interesting how that all turned out. I think I just listened to God, I didn't want to remember this, but Space Jam came out,
Oh my
and I'm like,
God.
nobody thought that was a good idea. Just Warner Brothers and
Yeah, that was
AT&T
horrendous.
at the time. See, that's how much that dates that. They weren't even Discovery yet.
That's
So
true. That was about a 100, just about 100 episodes ago because I think we just put up 155. So,
yeah.
oof, man. Yeah, and I should mention that too. Thanks for bringing that up. The Guy at the Movies podcast, weekly podcast, comes out on Mondays with my partner in crime, Math Teacher Movies on Instagram. So we have a lot of fun.
Sean's been on here a couple of times, and we definitely love math and movies together, so that's fun because I also teach math. But Joe, always love to start with everybody's least favorite question to be asked who's a movie fan, because a lot of the times, like, how can you just ask me this? But what's your favorite film?
It's a really good question. I just updated my letterbox, so I'm happy to like dive into this now. And I don't have one singular answer. So there's movies like The Departed. I absolutely love
Mhm.
The Departed. It's just I think it's a masterclass in storytelling and in balancing characters with big actors behind them.
Mhm.
I would also say Inception is one of my all-time favorite movies, and with Nolan now delivering Oppenheimer a couple weeks ago, that's Oppenheimer's up there for me too, to be
Mhm.
quite honest. But those are the two that come to mind right away. I'd also say the original Bourne trilogy is like my favorite action trilogy. Probably the second one is my favorite, I think. But then here's the one that's always so I'm a DC guy through and through,
Yep.
and I will defend Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition till the end of days. And that is one of it's a rewatch. I watch it all
Mhm.
the time. It's rewatchable as hell. it made a decent amount of money. I'm actually working on something for the site where it's looking at all the DC films
Uh-huh.
and what made money and what didn't, and it's kind of interesting to look at that. But yeah, those are the ones that come to mind there. I'm a sucker for any kind of movie though. So, recency bias gets me all the time. So if you ask me in like another week, I'll be like, oh, I love the Meg too, but that won't
No.
be up there.
I do have my Ultimate Edition somewhere like right there.
There you
Uh,
go.
it's definitely an improvement. So like, and it's interesting because I know how big of a DC guy you are as I've been listening to the podcast, and like, not really a fan of Zack Snyder, but like Man of Steel's really grown on me over the years every
Mhm.
time that I've rewatched it. And like, I don't think it's like the world's greatest comic book movie, but Zack Snyder's Justice League was certainly considerably better than the just plop, here's 2 hours that they actually released in theaters, which, speaking of box office, lost to Thor. So like that tells you a lot, doesn't
Mhm.
it? It's just like
Absolutely does.
it's like you literally have the Justice League come out and you lose to Thor at that point when nobody
Right.
trusted Thor, and it's just like, well, Taika Waititi comes in. But now, Joe, what's your earliest memory of going to the movies?
Oh, geez. There's two of them actually.
Mhm.
And I don't know which one's earlier. I'd have to check the calendar. One of them was this is really weird. I was sick or something. I think I was home from school. My dad took me to a double header at the theater, and it was Beauty and the Beast animated and Disney's Prince and the Pauper. I think that's what it was called, where like Mickey was the main character. Um, Maybe it was a double header, maybe that was like a short or something, but
Mhm.
my memory is it was a double header. So there's that one, and then there's also my father taking. Oh my god, I have three now. Then there's also my father taking me and my best friend to see Power Rangers the movie, and my dad
Ivan
falling asleep in.
Ooze.
Yeah, Ivan Ooze. Uh, I was waiting for him to pop up in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but that didn't happen. Um, and my dad fell asleep during it. He can fall asleep anywhere. And then the other one, this is also really random. I remember I had a splinter or something.
Mhm.
No pun in, no reference to Ninja Turtles there. And it was really bad. And like I was like crying, my dad got it out of my finger or whatever, and then he took me to see Men in Black. It's not my earliest, but it's like one of the ones that sticks with
Yeah,
me from childhood. Took me to see Men in Black, and then we would always go to 7-Eleven to get a Slurpee afterwards.
very nice. It's a
That's
nice combo, movie and a Slurpee when you're a kid, and probably as an adult too. I
I
can't remember the
love a
last
good
time I had
Slurpee.
yeah, I can't remember the last time I had a Slurpee or stepped into a 7-Eleven, to be honest. It's
Well, listen, if
all
you're watching the news in our area, stay away from 7-Elevens right now. They're being robbed a lot.
it's all Wawas and Royal Farms for me now. But and a quick check that's like 5 minutes from Ryder. I'm like, went to Ryder. I'm like, what the hell's quick check? South Jersey kid over here. Just like,
Yes,
what
yes,
is
yes.
this? Um, I was born in 91, which is when Beauty and the Beast came out, but boy did I watch that a lot when I
Yeah.
was a kid. But oh, the Power Rangers movie. I loved that so much as a kid, and then I rewatched
Mhm.
it as an adult and realized how ungodly atrocious the CGI was at the end.
Oh yeah.
And you're just like, you had one job: put people in
In the
suits
source.
on a model. That's Power Rangers. I don't care that this is a theatrically released film. We want people in suits destroying tiny cities.
But you know what's funny? When was that? That was
Probably
1995.
4 or 5, somewhere around there. Yeah.
1995. So think about that. I mean, at that time, we probably as kids were like, "Whoa, like,
Yeah,
this
right.
is so cool. This looks great." And today, like in the world of Avatar and stuff, I was just finishing or I just finished the Jar Jar Binks podcast. Have you heard about this?
Uh
So it's called The Redemption of Jar Jar Binks, and it's part of the TED Collective. And they talk with Ahmed Best, and it's just 6 episodes. Pretty
yeah.
interesting, like just reflecting on what he went through when the character was not well received. But they talk about how episode one was the first time that motion capture was ever really used in '99. So just thinking about that, like how far we've come, back then we were like I watched episode 1 and I probably wasn't picking it apart for any of
Yeah.
the graphics or anything. Today, I'll pick it apart to the end of the day.
Yeah.
But at that time, it was like, cutting edge and it was incredible. And I think that's probably the same for, I'm sure the budget wasn't nearly as big for Power Rangers, but,
Well, you know what?
similar
You know
there.
what's sad is that there's probably some shots in Phantom Menace that are better than some movies today. And
True.
it. Speaking of adult falling asleep taking to the movies, my aunt and her friend fell asleep at Phantom Menace. 8-year-old Shane sitting there just enjoying Star Wars. But every time I see Davy Jones, I'm just like,
Yeah.
how was this 2006? And then you see today, money,
Yep.
effort, and time. And
It's true.
learn that lesson, Marvel. Slow down. It's okay. We don't need 50 projects every month or year. Just ask Netflix.
That's a whole nother podcast, Shane.
It sure is. Now, Joe, what's your favorite genre of movies?
Oh man. So this isn't it's kind of like I describe this my own way.
Mm,
My favorite genre of movies, and people that have listened to the pod probably have heard me say this, but maybe a little bit surprised because I do love superhero movies. I do love dramas and all that. I like slice of life movies.
mhm.
So like what I mean by that are like movies that are based on like true situations and true stories, yes, but like true things that
Yeah.
people deal with on a regular basis. So most recently, like You Hurt My Feelings with Joy Louis Dreyfus. Absolutely love that because
Yes.
the core of it is so simple, right? It's
Yes.
what happens when you find out that like your partner has been lying to you in some way, maybe as over something stupid, like saying they like something when they really don't. But what does that do to the psyche? I
Yeah.
love that stuff. Um, Other movie, I mean, and like these are different levels here, but like Pieces of a Woman with Vanessa
Mhm.
Kirby back in the day that was on Netflix, I believe it was. I love that one. It's highly emotional, very challenging. Shia LaBeouf's in it, so let's ignore that part of it. But it's an incredible performance, and it deals with a real, very real topic.
Mhm.
The Sun, wasn't very well received, wasn't as great as I had hoped it would be, but the topic is very real, very impactful, very tough, but necessary to be shown and discussed. So they're the type of ones that I gravitate to. Sean makes fun of me a lot because I'm always like, find me a movie that's going to make me cry or like really make me uncomfortable. But that's the power of movies to me. I want to see stories told that I can look at and say, like, yeah, I definitely identify with that, or I know where they're coming from, or yes, people need to see this more because it's real, it's out there, and it's what people are dealing with, and they need to feel like they're not alone.
Absolutely. And well, your retort to Sean could be stop watching random 30s movies from Criterion Channel
Yeah,
all the time.
yeah.
I vote on his stories to
I do
figure
too.
out which ones he's going to watch. Um, you know, those kinds of films can hit such a deep place. And I was so excited for The Son because Father destroyed me. And
Shane,
yep.
I was in the fetal position on the floor at the end of the Father. I like literally laying on the floor crying because it was just I was an emotional wreck.
And then this, I don't want to be this way, but like, put a lot on it on the poor choice of young actor to play that son because
I
he
agree.
did not do a good job.
No,
And
I totally agree with that.
I felt that was cruel throwing him into like with sharks. Like you're gonna put this kid in front of Hugh Jackman and expect him to like
Yeah.
get up to that level. It's like it didn't happen. But like films like that are so impressive. Like Vanessa Kirby, our next Sue Storm, as that
Listen, I've been pulling for her since the beginning.
she's amazing, and she was amazing. She earned that Oscar nomination. That was any woman's ball game that year at the Oscars, and she could have easily won. But like films like that hit on such a deep emotional level, and Richard Linklater's made a career of making films that is just like we're gonna just drop you in and enjoy.
Yep.
And look at Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy. When are we getting before lunch? I guess would be the what would be the next time of day that we're gonna before?
Who knows?
before high noon. But
Yeah,
like
yeah,
those are certainly films that hit on a very personal and deep level.
yeah.
Emotionally, it's like you can connect with things like that. Now, thinking about behind the camera, who are some of your favorite filmmakers?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Favorite filmmakers. So I've had, let's talk recency here.
Mhm.
I've had a love-hate relationship with Christopher Nolan. I sometimes I think he's a little bit of a jerk where he like thinks he's God's gift to cinema, and then we get Tenet, and it's like, oh, well, really? Are you?
Where he
Um,
literally told us in the movie to like,
yeah,
don't think
it
about it.
doesn't matter. Yeah. What was
Still
it?
bothers
There's
me.
another movie recently that did that, and I was like, oh, the Tenet. Um, but yeah, it was. I would say him. I think he has an eye for every level of filmmaking and how to pull it together, and can tell really intricate stories, with the exception of Tenet, because I don't think he delivered there. But when you look at Inception in
Mhm.
particular, I think that he was very. He's a very capable actor, and it was incredible that he was able to deliver the way he was. Um, Aaron Sorkin is another one who I am absolutely obsessed with. I will watch anything that Aaron Sorkin does and probably love it, because it's again, it kind of leans into that slice of life stuff in a way where it's just, the way that people talk to one another.
Mhm.
It's high octane, it's high intensity, and he dives deep into whatever he's focused on, whatever story he's trying to tell. And I really enjoy that. Scorsese, of course, is always up there with me. He's a solid one. And Greta Gerwig's now 3 for 3 for me.
Mhm.
So she's her storytelling is, or I guess the way that she interprets a property, whether it's Little Women, whether it's an original like Lady Bird, or Barbie, the way that she can mine that stuff to connect with audiences, I think is really impressive. Um, they're the four that come to mind right now. I'm trying to think. There was someone else that was on the tip of my tongue, and it's slipping right now. But maybe it will come to me later.
I know Christopher Nolan was always towards the top for me. Took a
Hmm.
bit of a drop during COVID because like that whole entire situation was just like and Tenet did really well because the thing is it's like technically really impressive as always. But like you literally named your protagonist the protagonist and gave him no characterization. And I like John David Washington and things. I do think he's the kind of actor who probably needs something to
Hmm.
really get him there. And it wasn't there in Tenet. And, Robert Pattinson did great because, he's a really talented
Yeah,
actor and just wants you to forget that he was in Twilight, which you all should because he's a great
he's done a
actor.
lot since.
Yes. And it just, that took him down a couple pegs for me. But Oppenheimer, wrote me right back in. So, and I went through all of Scorsese's films on my Welcome to the Wasteland show, and it gave me such a deeper appreciation and also feeling seen as an Italian American and
Hmm.
uh questioning Catholic to like really connect with so much of his films. And Greta Gerwig's amazing. Am I happy that they have somebody with such talent taking over Chronicles of Narnia? Sure. Do I want her to make Chronicles of Narnia next? No. I am starting to really get to the point where it's just like I understand and good for them because
Yeah.
money. But like and that's the thing too, because like, she made Barbie, and that does not feel like a big studio film. It feels like somebody's creative vision with
Yeah.
just a little bit of a tip of the hat to Mattel, because they couldn't have made it without that.
You had to.
But like I'm definitely getting to the point where it's just like Marvel stop poaching like indie directors and let them making artistic films. And there's John Favreau's out there that actually know how to direct these kinds of movies and do a good job. So I don't know, but I'll still watch Chronicles of Narnia. But Greta Gerwig is really talented.
Yeah. You know who else I would throw in, and this
Mhm.
is going to be divisive, and it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Zack Snyder, but not for an individual film.
Mhm.
I really appreciate Zack Snyder's vision on things and how he takes the traditional or takes the well-trodden path and flips it on its head or goes the opposite direction, and reinterprets things or makes it real. That's something that I really appreciated about his DC films, was that there was a grittiness to it where that was very obviously juxtaposed against Marvel.
Mhm.
And it was kind of like a real world thing. Like, what would happen if we had these superhumans in the real world? How would we react to it? Yes, you bet your ass that there would be a congressional hearing that like they would pull Superman in and be like, yo, we got to talk. Like that type of stuff I really enjoy. I do feel for the guy in terms of everything that he went through personally that impacted professional, developments when it came to Justice League, but then also the fact that the first two films weren't critically well received, meaning Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman. He was in the middle of them trying to rush things. I don't understand how you bring an actor in, they pitch their, or a director in, they pitch their vision, and then you jettison their vision and then say it was his fault. That pisses me off a little bit, to be quite honest.
Well, when you have no plan or no vision yourself, and you're
Correct.
just like, it was his
That
fault.
that's why I'm excited to see what happens with Rebel Moon, honestly, because it
Mhm.
sounds like that is a grandiose vision. And as long as it doesn't fall into the trap of mirroring Star Wars, which I think a lot of people are worried about, I think there's an opportunity to really see some world development and see a creative franchise built.
Mhm.
I think he's doing that with, oh my gosh, what's it called? Army of the Dead
Yep.
and the films, all of those films. I didn't love Army of the Dead, but I loved Army of Thieves. I think that was this prequel one, right?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I did
That was a
enjoy
lot of
that.
fun.
Um, there's certain like I do appreciate Zack Snyder's vision because if you watch a film of his, you know it's his, and you know
Absolutely.
what it's not. And he has a very distinct voice. Some pieces of his voice I'm not a fan of. I do not like any of his humor. It's just like don't try to be funny. You're not. I don't find it funny. I think his funniest movie was written by James Gunn, which is Dawn of the Dead. So there you
Yeah.
go. What a nice combo. But the thing is, it's
Yeah.
like, which is really awkward now to think about. Uh,
Yeah,
well,
a little
who
bit.
replaced me? James Gunn.
Hey, but like they seem to be in good standing. I mean,
Well,
he's
that's the
been
thing.
tweeting his support for Blue Beetle.
I don't think any of these filmmakers have any animosity with each other. It's just the
No,
people that think they know what they're doing running the studios that obviously don't, and it shows a lot. But
absolutely.
I'm a big defender of Watchmen. I love Zack Snyder's Watchmen. I love the graphic novel more and
Mhm.
understand like he made some choices in terms of like characterization of some of the characters that like yeah, they probably would have died in certain situations if they got beat up like that by like Ozymandias. But it's still a comic book movie, so like we are suspending disbelief here. But like I still love his Watchmen film, and
Yeah.
boy, did that HBO series go hard. But there's certain films of his that I do really enjoy, and like I said before, I'm loving Man of Steel every time I watch it. Michael Shannon,
Yeah. He's
and
incredible.
I wish they just didn't bring him back for Flash
I know, I know,
because
I know.
he sleptwalked through that and he admits it. He's just like,
Hmm.
I wasn't challenging to me. I didn't have to do anything. And you can tell. You
Yeah,
can
you can absolutely
tell
tell.
100%. Now, getting in front of the camera, who are some of your favorite actors?
Ooh, so we mentioned Vanessa Kirby. She's one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
I do absolutely love her. I'm a big Matt Damon fan.
Man,
Matt Damon.
Damon.
Uh, my dad always references 40-year-old virgin with the Matt Damon line from there. But yeah, Matt Damon's definitely one of them. Henry Cavill, I absolutely love for Superman, but also, I mean, some of his other
Ramon Argyle.
performances. Argyle, and then there's another movie that didn't get much love when it came out. It's called Night Hunter, The Night Hunter, and it came out 2019, maybe 2018. But it's kind of like a really good detective cat and mouse story, and he's in it. Loved it. Big fan of that. One of the first directors I interviewed too, and I feel like I was like still trying to find my voice in interviewing, and I was like, I
Yeah.
love your movie, essentially. Um, yeah, so I would definitely say those three. Trying to think off the top of my head who else I would say. I do. Who else? Oh, well, Meryl Streep. Obviously, I have to say I love Meryl Streep. That's like a no brainer.
Yep.
Tom Hanks is probably my favorite of all time. Um, right now, I'm really excited about Storm Reed. I think she's a
Mhm.
really great young actress. Love her in different things that she's popped up in. Obviously, with The Last of Us, but I thought her performance in Missing was awesome.
Yes.
So they're probably the grab bag right now. Guilty pleasures like Zac Efron, I'll watch in anything because I think he's just goofy, and I'm just waiting for him to really break through.
I am
Uh,
seriously hyped for Iron Claw
ooh,
because I'm a pro wrestling fan too, and like
okay.
I know who the Von Erichs are. I'm just like, bring it on.
I'm a recovering pro wrestling fan. I was for decades,
I'll be
and
watching SummerSlam this Saturday on Peacock.
Saturday and Sunday, right? Isn't it 2 days now, or what do they do?
WrestleMania is
Okay.
SummerSlam 2 days?
I don't know anymore.
I don't honestly. I don't even know. I'll be sitting there Saturday, and if it's on Sunday, I'll be sitting there again. So there you go. But yeah, Zac Efron, he was one that I was hoping would be Human Torch because I think
Yeah,
he'd be a great choice. I don't know, like obviously it depends on where they're going with it and like age and
yeah,
stuff like that. But like it appears, according to rumors, that it's probably not going to be him, which
yeah.
fine.
He
If
hasn't really been included in many of them recently either. But speaking of Human Torch, Michael B. Jordan as well, I think is a really great actor. I really enjoy him in everything that he's been in. Just Mercy was incredible with him.
Mhm. But yeah, I so is big question. Is Vanessa Kirby gonna show up in the side sequel to F10 and then gonna show up in the final movie? Cause I'm like when Vin Diesel's like, no, we're gonna have a trilogy, and I'm just like,
I don't know.
and then the
Sure.
movie happened, and I'm like, wait a minute. So we're gonna get The Rock, Ryan Reynolds, Kevin Hart movie, all teaming up from Hobbs and Shaw.
God. I
See,
I
that's
have
the
no
love.
interest in what's going on with that.
Oh yeah, I recall. It's like I will not watch this. I just literally listened to the episode that you had where you're just like, I'm not watching F9. You
Yep.
shouldn't have. They went into space, and I'm just like, no.
I
I'm
put
not
my
even.
foot down with certain things.
I'm not even a fan of that franchise, to be honest. But I'm just like, these would be so much fun without Vin Diesel.
You're invested now.
He just takes himself way too seriously in these really, really stupid movies.
Oh, he's the
And
head of the family.
Jason Momoa got the memo.
That's what I
And that's
heard.
why Vin Diesel's mad at him because he stole the movie from him, which he did 100%. Now, Joe, what's a film that you could watch literally every day?
The Greatest Showman. I'm a musical theater fan. I'm a musical
Mhm.
fan when it comes to movies. Very excited for the new preview that came out today for Dix the musical. But
Yes, I saw
from
that
A20,
too.
A24 doesn't miss, so I'm ready.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, The Greatest Showman's definitely one of them. I'll watch that whenever. I think that came out at a time where I was just like super excited to like fall into something so mindless and with a great soundtrack. And I used to watch it like every night. There used to be like when I was living in Philadelphia and I would go out with friends. If I like was out a little too late, I would get home and put on The Greatest Showman. Like that was my like go to sleep movie. So it's definitely that one. But other than that, I don't really rewatch a lot of movies, to be
Mhm.
honest. Well, Zack Snyder's Justice League, I've watched a million times. The reason for it is my dog who passed away in October, he had separation anxiety. So I
Mhm.
would have to put on music or something, but I stream everything. So it would always pause or stop at some point. Zack Snyder's Justice League was a 4 hour movie that I knew would not stop for 4 hours. So he watched it on a regular basis. And then I
There
would
you
get
go.
home 2 hours in and be like, oh, I'm going to sit and watch the rest
The
of
rest of it.
it.
Greatest Showman is like the perfect, just like I have an hour and 40 minutes of time. Is P.T. Barnum a piece of crap? Yeah.
Do they sugarcoat that a little bit? Yeah.
Is Hugh Jackman extremely charismatic? Do I love him? Yes. And every song's a banger. I listen to that soundtrack all the time, and
Oh, same here.
it just goes down. Movie goes down so easy, and it's just like I want to get up and dance the whole time. So
Well,
I get that.
and Shane, that also brings up, Hugh Jackman's another actor. I'll watch in anything. I love Hugh Jackman. I'll watch him in anything. I'll follow him to the ends of the earth because I also just think he's a really nice guy. Um, until an article comes out and I'll freak out. But and then Zendaya is the other one that I'm really enjoying. Anything that she's in, I think she's a really great actress. Excited for Challengers, even though that's getting delayed. But
that was one of the ones where I'm like, no. And between that and Ethan Cohen's new movie, I'm like, how dare you? I was so ready for September. I was ready for this.
Is Challengers A24? No, it's Warner Brothers.
Don't think so. Luca Guadagnino's making the rounds. And
he's an interesting one.
He makes some interesting movies. If I ever have the need to be unnerved to my core, I will put on Suspiria.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And I love Dario Argento, so I love the original Suspiria too, which is a completely different experience. But Luca Guadagnino, nobody should have been surprised about Bones and All after that Suspiria movie. I'm just he's making a movie about cannibals. What a step down from this Haunted Coven movie that made my skin crawl in the theaters. Boy, that
can always count on a wacky storyline with him. There's something in there that's going to unnerve you. And you may not know it going in, but you'll definitely feel it going out.
Well, Peaches. Just gonna leave that one there. So, Joe, what's a film that you connect with closely because it relates to another interest of yours?
Ooh, another interest of mine. Oh God. Well, so it's okay. So I'll take this in two directions because I can't settle on one thing on any of these questions, apparently.
Most don't, so we're all good.
Miracle is one of my favorite movies of all time, too. I should have mentioned that earlier, about the 1980 U.S. men's hockey team in the Olympics, or men's hockey team, the battle to the Olympics and shit as well. Yeah. That I'm a big hockey fan. I'm a huge Philadelphia Flyers fan, grew up going to the games with my mother every year. And so that movie, I think, captures the spirit of hockey and does a really great job of retelling that story. And it's one of those sports movies where you find yourself cheering at the end. You're so pumped for it, which I also did with Gran Turismo, by the way, Shane. I meant to tell you that.
I saw your reaction to it. I'm just well, the whole theater that I was at were getting up and clapping. I'm like, this is a moment.
I was waiting for that and it didn't happen, but I was amped. I felt it in my body. Yeah. I was go, go, go. And those shots of the racing too, switching from first person to then those aerial shots where the camera's following. Oh my gosh.
Faith restored in Neil Blomkamp after Chappie destroyed all faith that I had in Neil Blomkamp.
And I still can't believe it's him that did this movie. Of all movies, him doing a racing movie based on a video game that's also based on a true story, in a weird way.
Yeah.
Oh, wild to me. Wild to me.
His name pops up for half a second in the trailer. They're just literally,
you hear that noise.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say Miracle is definitely one of them. And then I'm also on this kick. I am a gay male, and I have recently said that I did this today in a trailer reaction. I'm very, very interested in stories that are being told that haven't been told before, or that don't get enough airtime on the big screen. And I think whether that's stories of diversity, racial diversity, or whatever it may be, but LGBTQ stories, I think, are very important to be told as well, because it helps kids recognize or realize that they're not alone. I saw Red, White, and Royal Blue, which is coming out on Amazon
Mhm.
on the 11th, and I went to an early screening of that last week. And I had read the book and loved the book, and I was nervous about it, but I absolutely love the movie because it's a great story,
Mhm.
and they captured everything perfectly. But when I was on the train home from New York, I was thinking, this is a movie that would have spoke to me so much just by the very point of its existence had it been around when I was struggling with my identity and trying to
Mhm.
figure out like who I was and stuff. So the fact that there's now these movies that are coming out and are being more that are being pushed by large studios. Bros was an example of that. Bros,
Yeah.
of course, is depending on which end of the spectrum you fall with the criticisms of that. Bros is a fun movie, but it was a big studio movie with an
Yeah.
all gay cast and all of that. But then you also had Fire Island that was on Hulu last year and is now nominated for an Emmy. Like there are incredible stories that are being told that are capturing some of the intricacies of the community. Fire Island being a very interesting place, and you hear a lot of
Yeah.
stories from it. But then there's also just like there's a movie coming out called Lie with Me, and it's based on a 2017 book, but it's the premise of it is an author goes back to his town and runs into someone who looks strikingly familiar to someone that he knew from his past, ends up being the son of his first love, who was a male, and the son didn't know that his father, was in a romantic relationship with a
Yep.
male. And it's more about just exploring that. And he's older now, so this is probably taking place like 30 years prior in France. And just those stories go back to slice of life. I think they're very very impactful, and they're ones that I gravitate towards because I think, like I said, they're important to be told. So I'm excited to see them. And it also, I think, when you can identify with a type of story, with a plot, or with anything from there, I think that there are going to be movies that you want to watch more and more. And for me, it's like, okay, clearly whoever's written this story is coming from maybe they had these experiences, and it
Mhm.
helps me then explore more about myself and learn more about myself and see that like other people are having these experiences too. And I think that's kind of the power of movies throughout every genre, is people identify with them for different reasons. That's why, complete sidebar here, I never give a movie a 0.
Mhm.
I will, if I hate a movie, I will always give it a 1, because someone believed in it, it's someone's work, someone put it out there, and someone probably enjoyed it somewhere for some reason, and I don't want to completely shit on them for that. Sorry, I'm
Well,
cursing, but I don't want to completely crap on them
we're
for
adults here.
that.
Poor 8-year-olds tuning into my weekly
Yeah.
interview show that are going to be hearing horrible words. But I appreciate you sharing that, especially because, like, for the longest time, it's like you either had horrible depictions
Yeah.
of LGBTQIA plus community members, or it's like forbidden love.
Yeah.
And it's just like, gotta hide it. And it's like the same thing where it's just like other representation films where it's just like, do you have to have everything so sad and depressing about
Yeah, right.
everything? And I love Portrait of a Lady on Fire, but it's still a sexual repression film. And
1000%.
Ammonite, sexual repression film, and just like all of these things. And, even Ben Stiller had fun with that. Making Tropic Thunder at the beginning with, was it Devil's Abbey? Is
Yes.
is the Kirk Lazarus Tobey Maguire? It's like Academy Award nominated Kirk Lazarus, MTV Movie Awards winner for Best Kiss Tobey Maguire. And just
There's those types of movies like Ammonite and Portrait of a Lady on Fire were like gateway films for studios to be like,
yeah.
oh, they're doing well. Oh, we don't have to always be sad. Oh, we can move on from that. Um, yeah, so I'm totally with you there. It's funny too, because it's not only the LGBT stuff, but it's like the way you're talking about representation and how characters are, how people are depicted. And I look at like black characters for the longest time, and one thing that I love, did you saw Haunted Mansion, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So Haunted Mansion, not the greatest film. I think a lot of us can agree on that. But there's one thing that it did that I really appreciated, and it caught me off guard, is it kind of beat down that trope of the absentee black father. And you're led to believe the entire time, and I think it was intentionally so, that the kid's father, spoiler alert, is like not in the picture. He left or something, but he's dead. And you find
Yeah.
that out at the end, near the end. But then you have Lakeith Stanfield's character stepping in to be that father figure. So it was really this great story that ultimately, this great story of, a strong black father figure that Justin Simien kind of like backdoored into a Haunted Mansion Disney movie
Yeah.
that I was just very impressed by. And I love seeing that. We need more of that type of stuff.
Well, and I think I enjoyed Haunted Mansion a lot more than other people. Like, it obviously has its flaws. It's not perfect, and it turns into exactly what you expect it to turn into by the end.
Absolutely.
But like, Justin Simien was a perfect choice to come in and, casually just be like, this is a black film. And I love Keith Stanfield. I felt for his character and his whole dynamic in that. Love Rosario Dawson. And that kid is adorable. And I want to see him in more things. And, you have the other silly characters, like Tiffany Haddish and Owen Wilson and Danny DeVito.
Danny DeVito on break from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia decided to do a Disney movie.
Yes. They just like, there was like 3 years in between Mac and Glenn and everybody getting me back to this, and I'm just like, have something to do.
Oh my gosh!
Casually do a Haunted Mansion movie, but like, it's like, how many more movies about slavery do we need? They keep coming, but like, it's at the point where it's just like, and I remember when Dear White People came out, and I saw that Princeton Garden Theater. Love that place. Member. And I was just blown away by like, oh, like, this felt like very strong voice just being like, hey, I have something to say. Yeah. And I appreciated that Justin Simien could, slide these things into this Disney vehicle, which literally, it's a vehicle for an amusement park. Like, it's exactly what this movie is. And it's just like, that doesn't mean you can't put things that mean something into it. And I thought he did a fine job doing that. But still had to get the Hatbox Troll in. Still had to give Jared Leto a job.
This is probably my favorite. I mean, you're not at this episode yet, but this is my favorite Jared Leto performance because you don't even realize it's him.
Oh no, I've heard plenty up to this about feelings about Jared Leto, because the Little Things.
Oh yeah,
that whole fiasco. Just like, awards.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, we had that was a repeat conversation on the podcast for many weeks.
Well, not as much as the octopus teacher, which, for the record, I am still not over. I'm in Sean camp. I watch so many documentaries, and I'm like, how dare you put this stupid ass movie as best document? Boy State existed in the same year, and you did
Boy State was so good.
Boy State scared the shit out of me because I'm like,
yeah,
because it's funny because New Jersey Boy State's on Ryder's campus every summer, and I'm like, I never really knew what they did, and then I watched it. I'm like,
you watch it and you're like, oh, now I understand how this could happen, like where we're going.
Yeah, I'm like, well, that's how we got here. Now, Joe, who's a movie character you feel like you connect with on a personal level?
Oh my gosh. Oh, does it have to be a movie?
I make the rules here. No, go ahead. So,
because I don't have an answer for TV either. No, that's a really good question. Oh my god, movie character that I identify with. Oh god, anyone that's nervous, anxiety ridden, people pleaser. Trying to think here. Well, like, not to keep going back to it. So TV show, there's a show called Brothers and Sisters back in the day that was on ABC. One of my all-time favorite shows. Sally Field as the matriarch of the family.
That show.
Yep. When I do croak, and if there's ever a Lifetime movie about me, Sally Field to play my mother, please. There's a character in that named Kevin, and Kevin he's one of the sons, and he's played by Matthew Reese. Um, and Kevin's a gay lawyer
Hmm.
and is like very neurotic in a lot of ways. And I like, it's funny, like walking back on that now, I'm like, oh my God, that's me. Like that's 1000% me. Like everything that comes out of his mouth, every mistake that he makes, every like social cue that he misses, his career, his worries, his like what he enjoys. I'm like, that is me to a T. And that's, I think brothers and sisters in a lot of ways can be a slice of life too, with
Hmm.
just family dynamics and stuff, which can be nuts. That's a good question though for movies. I don't know who I would identify with. It's tough when you watch 17,000 movies a month like we do.
Yeah. It's because like I've answered these questions on this before, and I always have to preface mine with like I have not experienced all the things that this character has experienced because like I don't want
Okay.
people to like get scared for me. But like perks of being a wallflower, I'm like I was Charlie. I was that kid in high school that's just like sitting over there, not really connecting. And good for him that he figured that out a lot quicker than I did because it took me to go to college to be able to have those experiences. But like, I just love that. I wish I had a teacher like Paul Rudd who would give me books to read, or like, I remember
Yeah.
I watched that in college and I'm like, yeah, I feel this a lot for like the first 80% of the movie, so people don't freak out if you know what this book is about in this movie.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I have not experienced those things, thankfully. But like perks, like it's it is interesting too because humans are complicated, and it's really hard to pinpoint a character that really captures a human essence because it's like you watch them for 2 hours and like really being able to see, like you would have to watch like a film that really focuses on somebody for you to really understand them, not like an ensemble or a plot driven film and stuff like that. But you find little connections to characters and why we relate to them. And sometimes I'm a little worried by people's response to this question. I'm like, I don't
Have you seen their entire the
know.
entire story about that individual?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a
Now,
tough one. I have to think about that.
that's usually the hardest question. That and the relating to your other interests questions.
Yeah.
Those are the fun ones on this one. A lot of the other questions are, pretty straightforward. But in terms of what's a film that you love that you feel like people would be surprised?
Hmm. I feel like people would be surprised. Oh God. I don't know. I don't know what people because so I think people are surprised a lot by films that I like and don't like because
Mm,
I do buck against trends a lot, not
mhm,
intentionally. It just ends up being that way. Um, one of my favorite films, one that people I remember in college. Well, here's two. One because it's people hate it and I love it. The other because it's just really wacky and
mhm,
working for a college and university or working for colleges and universities. It's not the greatest film to love, but Rules of Attraction back in the day with James Vanderbeek.
mhm,
I felt like that was such a solid depiction of how crazy college can really be. If like depending on what crowd you fall in with. And it deals with a lot of tough themes and it has some deeply troubling humor in it.
mhm.
And so most people I think that don't know me, if you don't listen to the podcast, you probably think that a lot of times like I'm like maybe a little straight laced in a lot of ways, but then when you listen to the shit that we talk about on the podcast, I'm like you realize that I could put on a good front if I need to. The Covenant is another one from back in the day. I think that's an incredible movie with Sebastian Stan et al. And I will go to bat for that movie forever because I used to take it over to the swim house where one of my best friends lived in college, and we would watch it on a regular basis and like just have some beers and have a good time watching it. Um, those are the two that come to mind. I don't know that people would be surprised with much that I love because I'm very honest about like, the slice of life movies that I like. Like Marriage Story is one of my favorite movies. Um,
Hit
I
hard
I
for
just
me, child of
oh,
divorce.
I bet, yeah. But I just those are the types of movies that I love, and I think that maybe that's what people are most surprised about is, the stuff that people find disturbing. I'm like first in line to see them, because I want to experience it. I want to see
Mhm.
it. I want to learn more, and that's probably what people get confused about when they're accessing guide to movies.
Well, it's like I literally watch everything and anything. So it's
Yeah,
kind of one of those things that it's just like it's obviously like people have certain expectations for people, but also like, you kind of you have a reputation of like if you're like you review movies and stuff like that. And I can sit here and very easily tell you I watch every 90s Adam Sandler movie over and over and over
yeah.
again and can quote them from start to finish in many situations. And it's just like I quote them I probably quote Billy Madison on a pretty regular basis. And it's just like, I think it's hilarious. Is it? I don't know. Comedy's subjective. So there you go. Is it stupid?
that
Yeah.
that's
100%.
how I am with Jim Carrey. Like 90s Jim Carrey, like, or Liar
94
Liar.
was a year for Jim
Mm.
Carrey. Like liar. The pen is blue.
I I routinely say, "Here she comes to wreck the day," or like, "Oh, I'm kicking my ass. Do you mind?" Like, that's a classic movie.
So great. But the thing is, like, I know what people ask is like, what's your guilty pleasure? And I'm just like, I'm not guilty about liking anything.
Yeah,
So
same here.
reframe your question because like I have all these movies that I own, and I'm like, I own them for a reason. I have Me Before You, that random movie with Amelia Clark and Sam
Uh
Claflin.
huh.
And I got an advanced screening to that randomly, and my friend Kevin and I went, and the two of us are sitting in like the front row because we got caught up in the concession line, and we're just sitting there like, I'm having fun with this. Is this really, really obnoxiously like rom com? Yeah, but boy, is Amelia Clark charming when she's not like slaughtering people and like rolling in Westeros. I'm just like,
Yeah, that was her attempting to break out of that,
I
with
like her
that
a
book
lot
adaptation.
more in stuff like that and Last
Mm.
Christmas than I do like. Not gonna lie, was not a fan of Gaia in Secret Invasion. I'm
Secret
like,
Invasion.
they gave her nothing and she brought nothing, and it's just like I didn't even notice you, to be perfectly honest, most of the show until the end when I was forced to. It was just like, but she's actually pretty charming and funny, and it's just like
Yeah.
you should do more stuff like that. Um, but my last question for you, Joe, is what do you love most about movies?
Oh God, I use movies to take my mind off of things, and that's what led to me starting Guide to Movies. I've always gone to movies in the movie theater numerous times a week. It's always been my thing. Like, oh, I'm bored. Let's go see a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's different because I feel like, yeah, and you probably feel this way too a little bit with like getting advanced screenings and stuff. Like, it's a different experience in and of
Mm-hmm.
itself. Like today was different. Like I saw the Meg right after work today, and because they weren't screening that, spoiler alert, that should tell you how good it
I
is.
wonder why.
Right. But I that's kind of what led me to starting Guy at the Movies. I had moved
Mm-hmm.
to Lancaster for a job back in 2018. I was going to movies like multiple times a week again. Um, and I just wanted to put my thoughts down and started it on Instagram, and it's kind of blown up since there, which has been awesome, and it's been excellent because I've met so many great people, yourself
Mm-hmm.
included.
Oh,
Met a lot of people that I call friends. Been to Sean. I was at Sean's wedding. Different things like that. People I talk to on a regular basis now, and um, that that's really exciting because it led to a different community,
mm-hmm.
and a community of shared interests where we all just talk movies all the time because whether or not we agree on them, we are able to see each other's points of view, and see what people are trying to do, the filmmakers are trying to do when they're making these films, and see what the movies are trying to communicate. Like I don't know that the average moviegoer would look at Haunted Mansion and spend the time that we just did dissecting, the subplots and the
Mm-hmm.
intents of the film of the director. But that's exciting to me. I
Yeah.
really enjoy that, and it also is just fun. So I think that's, I movies are an escape for me. The world is shitty and only getting shittier. And there's so much that goes on in each of our individual lives, whether we're dealing with, health or work or whatever it may be, that being able to just like lose yourself in a movie for 2 hours, 3 hours, 3 hours apparently for Five Nights at Freddy's, by the way. Um,
What?
that's the rumor.
How?
But I have no
Like,
idea. No idea.
Willy's Wonderland did it better.
I have to say that now because number one, I do really enjoy it, but number two, Geo Parsons, the creator of Willy's Wonderland, we've had him on the podcast multiple times, and
Yeah.
he and I will still message a lot back and forth. Like when Freddy's came out, I was like, "Oh boy."
Well,
um,
there's one giant flaw that Five Nights at Freddy's doesn't have.
Nicolas Cage.
Nick Cage. Which,
Well, and not to get on a tangent with this, but this will make you appreciate it, I think, a little bit more, is that Nick Cage went to bat for that movie. And
yeah,
he was so supportive of Geo's vision and not wanting to change things. And I think that's really cool to see because like Nick Cage doesn't have to do that, especially for an indie movie like Willy's Wonderland. But I that just made me appreciate him as an individual that much more.
well, and I was so excited to watch that. My wife and I have a humongous appreciation for Nick Cage. And like basically it's like the movie can be utter crap. But like one of my one of my wife's favorite movies is Vampire's Kiss. Because just how insane he is in that
Right.
movie. And like my only negatives about Willy's Wonderland is like the subplot with like the teenagers. Like if you just took that out and it was just Nick Cage didn't say a word and just slowly picked off all these animatronics, I'm like, masterpiece, perfect movie. And oh god, if that's actually 3 hours, why?
I
Why?
have no idea. That was today, though. That was a rumor I saw today. I was like, oh boy,
Well, I hope that rumor is wrong.
me too. Me too.
Or it's a
Hour
great
45 tops.
yeah, like that just there's certain movies that just have a runtime written all over them. And when they don't have that runtime, I'm a little concerned. I'm just like, why?
I
Like,
would say a Blumhouse movie in and of itself, all of them, hour 45 tops.
yeah, to be perfectly honest, you're making pulpy, silly, campy
Hmm.
horror movies. That's what you
Absolutely.
do. Lean into it, arrive, do your business, and leave.
Get out.
Like, I rewatched Lord of the Rings Return of the King today as I was working on my classes. 3 hours and 20 minutes goes by like that.
Yep.
But like not every movie flies by with 3 hours and 20 minutes. But I really appreciate what you said about especially the community. Like we kind of connected by chance by just keep showing up at this
Yeah.
press screening. Because like I think I was following you on Instagram, just like I'm there. And so it kind of just came out of that, to be honest.
Yep.
And I connected with Sean well before that through a follow of a follow and stuff like that. It was Kristen,
Okay.
Miss Domingo. And it's just like this growing network. And that's one of the reasons why I started doing this interview show. And I've interviewed like actual industry people. Okay, like I got to interview Terry Crews for 4 minutes. It was lovely.
Nice. Yeah, it's awesome, isn't
I interviewed Wee Man and Preston from Jackass, and it was hilarious. But like most of the stuff is interviewing other people that do similar stuff that I do and getting to connect. I wound up reaching out to like I think everybody from the website and trying
it?
to
Nice.
connect. And like I already connected with Larissa and some of the others, and like I have my Sif Pop Slack is quite the experience on a daily basis. And now I
Yep.
got the Discord. I have to
Yeah,
get
the Discord.
I have to get used to using Discord because I don't really
Mhm.
use it. So when I get like, because I go and check Slack all the time, but like getting back into Discord. I'm like, I gotta level up. Got my little bot that needs to tell me as I keep
It
leveling
needs
up.
to tell me that I'm up there. Yeah,
Like
I
I'm
hear
like
you. I
level
hear
2, I'm slacking.
No pun
But
intended.
yeah, but I didn't even mean that on purpose. But Joe, I always like to wrap this up is letting my guests ask me a question. So what would you like to ask the Wasteland reviewer?
Absolutely. So Shane, you shared something interesting with me at one of our previous screenings. And
Mhm.
I'm trying to remember which one it was. I don't think it was Ninja Turtles. It was whatever was prior to that.
Theater camp?
Theater camp. It was at theater camp.
Yeah, because we were
You
chatting for a bit there because I walked in, I'm like, where's all the PR people? And then I just wandered into the theater.
Yep. AMC Neshaminy, gotta love it. You mentioned that the Nicole Kidman AMC ad annoys you because her accent disappears in the last line. So first of all, can you reiterate that? Can you share that again?
AMC theaters, we make movies better. I'm like,
That killed
where'd it
me.
go? Like just disappear. And it's not even like a subtle, it isn't like, Liam Neeson floating in and out of trying to do an American accent or something, which, come on, the US has plenty of immigrants. Just write his roles to be Irish. Who gives a crap? Whatever. But like, it bothers me so much because I'm just like, dude, you're AMC. You had time to put this together. It makes no
Right.
sense. And I have to watch it every single time I
They
go
cut
to
it
an
today though.
AMC
They
theater.
didn't show it before the Meg 2 today. I was like, usually I'm like, come on, not the Nicole Kidman thing again. Then when it didn't happen, I was like, where's Nicole Kidman? What's going on? But anyway, my question is Nicole Kidman is one of those actresses that's been around for quite a while and has been in a lot of different types of films.
Yes.
What would you say is your favorite Nicole Kidman performance?
A good question. Let me think.
She's been in so much when you go back to her filmography.
Yeah, because like I really enjoy like Destroyer kind of like came in and disappeared, and a lot of people didn't see that movie.
Okay.
I did enjoy her in The Beguiled a lot, from Sofia Coppola. I'm trying to think of like my brain just keeps going to Moulin Rouge in Australia, and it's neither of those movies, especially not
Moulin Rouge is
Australia.
what it keeps going to for me.
It's funny because I don't have the greatest experience with Moulin Rouge, and I really feel like I need to give that movie another chance. I just haven't yet.
Same.
Like I'm going through here. Um, some of these are so weird. Like Aquaman. The only thing weirder in Aquaman is that Julie Andrews was a giant sea monster. Um, like I'm looking through Nicole Kidman's filmography because, like, yeah, she's been in a lot of things,
Mhm.
and I feel like she hasn't gotten like a whole lot of awards attention relatively recently. Except, was she nominated for Lion? I'm trying to remember.
I
Um,
don't recall.
this is so. This is going to seem like an odd couple of choices. These are both
Go for it.
supporting roles, and they're both mothers, and they're both very, very different mothers. But I love Boy Erased,
Mhm.
and I thought that she seemingly wasn't going to have much to do in that movie, but
Mhm.
wound up having a lot more. And that's saying something because in the minimal time that Russell Crowe's in that movie, he's amazing. But
Yeah.
that, and boy, did I hate her so bad in The Northman.
It
She was so good.
was so good.
It was like,
I forgot about the Northman.
God, what's, I'm a huge Robert Eggers fan. So, like,
Uh-huh.
um, she must have watched the Mel Gibson Hamlet with the
Yes.
strange sexual tension between Glenn Close and Mel Gibson's like, I'm gonna bring a little bit of that in to this because like throughout most of that move, like the Northman, it's like there's not much in Nicole Kidman, but one scene, I'm like, ooh, and it's just like, oh, I went from oh she's there to I hate her in this movie. And also a special shout out to that HBO show, The Undoing.
Hmm.
That was it was a sleazy show, but I loved it, and I loved everybody in it. The only thing more sleazy than the show itself was Hugh Grant in it. But yeah,
Yeah, true.
I do appreciate some of Nicole Kidman's supporting role, but obviously, I'm pretty sure like most people are probably going to remember her from Moulin Rouge and such a great performance that she had in that, which there's no arguing about that. It was a great
Yeah,
performance. And I felt bad for questioning her casting for being the Ricardos, but she delivered. I'm
he
just like,
delivered.
Javier Bardem, I still am not convinced was playing. That just was so when he started singing and he just has this like deep Javier Bardem voice. I'm like,
Mm. Ricky?
uh, no, I never got sold on him, but like she was great in that too.
Yeah,
So
I
see,
agree.
I don't hate Nicole Kidman. I just hate that AMC didn't film multiple versions of that, so I don't have to watch the same damn one
Well,
every
we're
time
getting a
a
new one
movie hits.
soon. New one soon.
Thank
You
God.
stole the words out of my mouth with Boy Erased because I think Boy Erased is an incredible movie.
Yep.
And it leans into what I talked about earlier, not only the LGBTQ stuff, but the slice of life. Lucas Hedges is phenomenal in that movie.
Yes.
Uh, Another actor, actually, that I forgot about that I really enjoy in everything he's in.
Where's he been
Uh,
recently?
he was just in something. What was the last thing? He was great in Honey Boy.
Because that
That was already
was
Oh, he's on Broadway right now. Or not Broadway. He's in the West End. He's in Brokeback Mountain on stage play, and it's coming over to Broadway at some point.
that makes a lot of sense. Because like that's the thing. I thought about it, and yeah, his last two film roles were Let Them All Talk, the Steven
Mm-hmm.
Soderbergh movie. Where it's like, hey Streep, get on this boat, do your thing. Uh,
Wait until you get to that episode with Sean and I, because we both enjoyed it.
no, well, here's the thing. I've been enjoying Soderbergh's weird experiments on Max, like because it's
Yeah,
Soderbergh.
go for it.
And then French Exit, which I thought he was
Oh,
really good with Michelle Pfeiffer in too.
yes, I forgot about that
But yeah, he
one.
just disappeared. I'm just like, what happened to Lucas Hedges?
But yeah, Nicole Kidman in Boy Erased is she has a quiet presence for most of
Mhm.
it, but is a very impactful role.
Yeah.
And then like this is silly, but like the prom, I still love the prom, and she was great in the prom. I thought she was like just having fun,
Uh,
and I love seeing an actress like that just let loose. So
she was the one who fossied, right?
yes, yeah,
Yes. Oh, it's funny because I was a row behind and towards the center of you during theater camp. Uh, my wife and I were loving that. I lost it when they had the table of the Fosse kids.
oh yeah,
Because I'm a big Bob Fosse fan. Like I love Chicago. I love uh,
nice.
Schmicago as the second season of Schmigadoon was the greatest. I just love that so much. But it's a good question. That is definitely not one of the ones I usually get. It's going
There
to be
you go.
hard to top Sean, who
I can only imagine.
his first time on here, if I'm not mistaken, asked me which Robin Williams character would I want to go on a date with. It was a
Did you
great
give him the
question,
questions ahead of time?
huh?
Did you give him the questions ahead of time?
Yeah. Well, the thing I don't tell anybody that the ending is you have to ask me a question. And it's so funny because when people come back, they even forget that sometimes. I'm
Oh
like,
wow.
I ask the same thing. Everything is ask me a question. So, but Joe, thank you so much for coming on and talking movies.
Absolutely, Shane. Thanks for having me.
And go check out guyatthemovies.com and the podcast and all the fun stuff that we do over there and me sharing my opinions on things, which
Yeah.
I'm very proud of the wide broaden your horizons of movies article. That
It's a
really
great one.
spoke to me. And there's always ways that you can branch out because I know I've done a lot of those things. But thank all of you out there for always tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.